beneath hay and feed sacks. The next evening, the Widow Taylor came around to the cellar door. We heard the creaking of the wagon wheels and her voice talking to the horse. "Now, Jupe, you listen to me. Move up, Jupe. You are not going over there. You stop right here. Whoa, Jupe." The horse snorted loudly outside. "Don't toss your head at me, old fellow," she scolded, "because I won't stand for it." The cellar door opened. "Come out of there now," the Widow Taylor called to us sharply. "I'm here with the wagon." Me and Harrison were already waiting for her. I had spent the whole day going up and down the steps every little while to see if sunlight was still shining through the cracks around the cellar door. "Ain't it dark yet?" Harrison kept asking. "Where you think that white lady is?" His rigor mortis had set in again, so most of the afternoon he had stayed piled up in the coverlets, and twice he had me poke around the cellar, looking for an old axe to put under the straw tick so he could keep the chills away. But finally the Widow Taylor had come with the wagon. Me and Harrison left that cellar fast. After 2 days in the darkness, we hurried up the steps and stood outside, trying to get our eyes used to seeing in the light. The sun was setting just below the far trees, and the air smelled of wood smoke and warm earth. I breathed in a whole lungful of that good air, as if I had never taken a living breath before. "Over here," the Widow Taylor said impatiently. She stood at the front of an old-looking brown horse, with her fingers curled around his bridle. His head swung up and down, blowing a snort of air. "You be still, Jupe." She gave him a soft slap on the neck. "He doesn't like coloreds much, you can tell," she said. But in my mind I thought maybe truth was he didn't like the Widow Taylor much, because she was the one holding tight to his bridle, not us. "Climb in," she said, pointing at the wagon. "Jacob always put the coloreds in the back underneath the hay and feed sacks. Just be careful of his good things." I don't know what the lady meant about Jacob's good things. The wagon was a mess of tools, barrels, cordwood, and clumps of dirty hay, just like the cellar. There was nothing fancy or nice at all. "You go on and hide yourself right here," Harrison whispered, shaking out a pile of old toe sacks. Shriveled up brown apples rolled everywhere. "I'm going to hide myself under that pile of hay." He leaned closer. "Anything happens, if we get stopped along the way, you just stay covered up right where you is, and you don't breathe a word. You let Harrison do whatever needs done. You understand?" The Widow Taylor came over to the side of the wagon. "I'm ready to leave," she said loudly. "It's getting late." "All right, yes'm, I'm hurrying," Harrison said. "Go on, get underneath these feed sacks, Samuel." He lifted the sacks and gave me a hard stare, and there wasn't a thing I could do but crawl under the scratchy pile that smelled of earth and rotted apples. "The ladies have a prayer meeting and hymn sing every Thursday evening at Reverend Pry's church," the widow lady told Harrison. "Last week Jacob rode in the wagon and watched over Jupe until we had finished our meeting. He told me everything sounded so sweet and nice." A shiver went through me, hearing the way the Widow Taylor kept talking so real about her dead husband. "Did you see Jacob while you were down in the cellar last night?" she asked Harrison. "Did he talk to you?"
"Well, now," Harrison said, coughing, "we didn't. No, but we been sleeping pretty sound."
"I talked to Jacob last night, and he said he was going to have a look at you. I said you were an old colored man with a young boy. Are you certain that you didn't speak to him?" I recollected how she had cried and sobbed the night before, and there weren't any other voices, not Jacob's or any others.
"Could be that we did,"
Harrison answered uneasily. "My husband is a good man, isn't he?"
"Yes'm," came Harrison's muffled reply. "That's the truth."
"Now, once we get to Reverend Pry's church, all you will need to do is climb out of the wagon after our hymn singing starts and go around to the side door of the church, the one next to the big currant bush. Do you know what currants are?"
"Yes'm,"
Harrison answered again, and I thought about the big currant bush that grew in the back of Lily's cabin, full of sour, red-black berries. "Ain't that the picture of life?" Lily used to chuckle every time we walked by it. "Good-looking berries that be sour and stuck with thorns." Miss Taylor kept rattling on. "Well, you and the boy will have to sneak through the church door by those currant bushes, and after that, Reverend Pry will find you, and he'll take good care of you. He's saved dozens of coloreds." There was a pause, and the wagon creaked as if the widow lady was climbing up to her seat. I heard the sound of the reins being loosened and untangled. "Ready then?" she asked Harrison. I didn't hear Harrison's answer, but the wagon jolted forward after that, and we were on our way. I curled my fingers around my mama's gray yarn in my pocket. Strange to say, I had never seen a real church before. Our poor colored brethren.